Hey everybody, so today I'm going to do an updated effects section. This I guess is effects 2024, so to speak. And what we've got is we've got a set of effects. Now I'm not going to put the effects in because I want to save time, but I will show you all the effects. Now in recent years I've used 3 crashes, 3 down sweeps, 3 reverse cymbals, 3 short reverses, 3 long reverses and 3 reverbs, and that gives you I think a possible combination of 12 different variations or something crazy like that. My maths is not very good. Anyway, nowadays I'm just trying to simplify things and keeping it a little bit simpler. And in the past, what I've done is I've just kind of done effects as I see fit on each section. So where our melody is an 8-bar melody, so I'll just do everything's cut to bars of 8, and I would kind of just go through and line the effects up. But what I find is my breakdowns over the years have been like constantly like whoosh, 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 whoosh. It's like a fucking Star Wars movie or something like that. So I'm trying to do less is more approach now. And you guys know by now that I am a big believer in a reference track. Now the purpose of a reference track is not to copy and rip people off. If you've got that kind of view, I feel like you need to like change it. A reference track, in my eyes, and why I use it, is to learn new ways of doing things. I've been making this track, and it's a Simon Patterson track always, and the bass doesn't come in until 32 bars into the breakdown. I would have never have done that, but now, it's a really good. This is completely my own melody. Oh, it's a remix actually. So, but let's say this was my own melody. I've created my own track, but by using a reference track, I've done something I've never done before. Another part of the track in the intro somewhere. He has a little build up, and then the track drops out, and all the percussion is dropped out apart from a closed hat, and he drops one of the mid basses out, and it's so cool. And again, I've never done that, but it's something I'll definitely implement in my tracks moving forward. So a reference track is a really good way, to help you continually develop and learn. I've been producing 17 years now, and I'm still using reference tracks to get different ideas. And if you do a reference track, and you mix, let's say you make 6 tracks a year, and you've got 6 different breakdowns, you could never use a reference track again, and you've learned or you've applied 6 different ways of doing the effects. Some people like them every 8 bars. Some people like them, a lot less sporadic. Is that the right word? Anyway, so I am very conscious of people because I've had people in the past saying, "Oh, that's cheating" or whatever, and it's just really not. It's about learning, and as long as you learn and apply it afterwards, I think it's just a really great way of doing things. So we've got all our effects in. I'm just going to show you. I always, as I say, 2 crash, 2 down sweeps, 2 reverse cymbals, 2 short reverses, 2 long reverses, 2 reverbs. I'm going to go through them all and show you them all, and then we're going to chop them all up and make them nice and neat. I've lined everything up to bar 1 of the breakdown. Once we've done that, we're going to put them across the entire track, and then I'll show you a nifty little trick to mix everything, because the breakdown starts quite quiet and it gets louder. So how do we mix everything? Because at the end of the day, this crash here is going to be across the track 2 or 3 times. So do we have to automate the volume? Do we have to use a gain tool? Do we have to use 2 or 3 different channels to get different volumes? I'll just show you a simple way of doing it, okay? So first of all, let's listen to the sounds. Okay, so they're all the sounds. Now, there's some discrepancies on some of the sounds because some have got delays and LFO tools, some have not. What we're going to do is we're just going to go through and remove everything, essentially. Start fresh. Should have done it before, apologies. So the reason that there's delays on some of the rises is because they stop. Now, if the audio, if the waveform just stops and the effect has to stop, which is not ideal in some cases. For instance, V-short reverses stop, okay, as they lead up to the transition point. So if you don't have a delay, then they're just going to stop. It's going to sound pretty weird, isn't it? There's some caveats to using the delay, i.e. you have to automate it at the end, or I do anyway. If you don't automate it, the delay is going to build up over the entire sample, and it's going to sound pretty shit. It's going to bunch up with delay, and it's going to create a bit of a mess. In terms of the LFO tool, that's just discretionary. Sometimes I like to automate LFO tool. Sometimes a crash or a downsweep doesn't have an LFO tool on it, and it sounds like a bit too much. So we'll just go through each one at a time and basically assess them. So the first things first is getting the length, okay? So 4 bars is good. It looks like it goes further, but I don't think we're going to need it more than 4 bars. Let's have a listen. Maybe. It's got a bit more tail to it, why not? So I'm going to fade out the last bar, and that's nice and simple. Now on this one, we're not going to put anything. Do we need an EQ? You could, I guess, if you wanted EQ out everything underneath the point where it comes in. I used to do this. If I'm being completely honest with you, I don't really know if it makes a big difference. Like, my way of thinking used to be, I used to have to really find a reason to why to do something. Sorry, find a reason. Find a reason to why I do something. So, for instance, I would always say to my friends, "Oh God, like EQing is so important because you've got to remove the frequencies that aren't there in the EQ because if not, sound builds up over time, and it's really important." I don't know why I did that. I think it's because if I'm using something, my brain works in a way that I have to kind of have an understanding of why I'm doing it. But in reality, I don't think that it makes a difference. Let's look. There's no sound underneath 400 hertz. And again, my way of thinking used to be, I need to remove whatever energy isn't there. Now you do see this little line here, so what is that? So I'm kind of asking myself questions as I'm going along here and learning with you guys. I mean, I guess for the sake of argument, we can remove what is not there just in case. But if anyone's sat here and you know a lot about EQs and you know all the the nuances of whatnot, please feel free to email and let me know. But I think you could probably leave it and it might not make much of a difference. But just to be certain, we'll remove what's not there. I always have an EQ at 18,000 hertz. Again, I was always just told that the human ear can't hear over 18,000 hertz. Again, if that's bullshit or not, I don't really know. But I like to have it anyway. It makes no difference to my ears, so I would maybe hazard a guess that whoever told me about 18K and humans not being able to hear over it is probably right. So yeah, now we don't really need a compressor. You could use a compressor if you felt that the sound dropped off. Let's say it sounded great here, great there, but boom, dropped off really sharp. Then what you could do is use a compressor, and what a compressor does is it allows you to balance the dynamics out, or the volume rather. And essentially what a compressor would do is allow you to hear a sound for longer, because it would take this entire waveform and make it more balanced. So the sound would kind of last for longer. In this case, it's really linear. It fades out nicely. There's no massive gap, so we don't need any compression. Nice and simple. Right, down sweeps. Now there's an LFO tool on this, but let's take it off and see why it's on there. Now that does have a lot of energy coming down, so it does make sense. We don't need the energy there because that's our bass region. You know, everything up to here is pretty much bass, so we don't want any frequencies interfering with it. This one does drop off quite a lot at this last section here. So what we could do is try a compressor. And I just use this nice simple compressor. I don't mess about with all the attack, the release, the hold, all that kind of stuff. This is just nice and simple. And the way I look at it is the more compression that I add, the more the sound becomes balanced out. I always tend to go for about -3 to -6. It'd be cool to do a test and have a listen after. Let's have a listen now. I don't like the gain being in the red or the yellow, so I'm going to turn it down and try and get rid of that. I'm going to go for about -6 decibels of compression, which means the sound is being reduced -6 decibels. So the louder part of the track is being squashed down 6 decibels to the quieter part, which in turn, if you visualize it, means that the sound is now more balanced, which means we can turn the entire sound up more. I like to take my time and have as little gain reduction as possible without going into the red, and I've found that -3 works nicely. So if we bounce this now, create a new channel. Again, what's it going to show us? Is it going to show something different? Let's level it out so it's the same. So we'll turn the compressor off and look at the peak volume. So it's peaking at -12.4. We'll go off the bus channel. It's getting sent to a bus, so 12.3. And it's only very subtle, but what it's showing is that this it's got a waveform and it drops off really sudden here around this section. Whereas if you look on the one below, the compression, it doesn't drop off, it's much more even. Look at my mouse going along the line. It starts going down a little bit, but this is straight down. This is straighter for a lot longer. The waveform is more consistent. So it definitely does work, compression. Definitely works. So we'll leave that compressor on there, and it just means that sound is not going to fade away as fast. Now the LFO tool, it's on there just to kind of create a suction motion. I like that sometimes. If you've got it on this. This is a bit of a stronger down sweep, so we're going to leave LFO tool and we'll put it on that one instead, okay? A word of advice as well, never just use the same effects in your track. I think there's a lot of producers out there, and I could name a few, which I'm not going to, but I could name a few that I know for a fact they just have a template with the percussion and all the effects and the kick. They might have 2 or 3 different kicks that they rotate, but everything's the same. You can hear it, like every transition is literally the same. And I don't know, is there anything wrong with that? Ironically, there's one particular producer, and he's had some massive tracks. And I know for a fact he's a template producer because everything sounds the same. All the crashes. That's bad timing. Sorry, guys. Real world production shit. Back, the parcel's being collected. You know me, I like to keep things real. So yeah, where was I at? So yeah, this one's got quite strong. This one's a bit stronger, I think. So now we're not going to do the compression because look what we're seeing. It's kind of, it's okay. It's maybe when you zoom out a little bit more. When you zoom in, it's a bit worse. But when you zoom out, it's straight, and then starts fading down slightly. So I don't really feel the need for compression. What I like about Ableton, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think when you apply some compression, it changes the waveform automatically. I wish Logic did that, because now we've got the compression on there, but it doesn't adjust the waveform. So if it does that, it's pretty handy. Anyway. This effect has a lot of low end, so it's just a case of where, how much low end do you want? There's bass in the track, there's mids, so realistically, we're not going to need anything too low. I'd probably say 300 feels about right to me. So you've got the mid, you've got all the mids and you've got the highs, but we're kind of killing it before the low mids, which I consider about 100 to 200, and then the lows we don't need at all. So yeah, keep them low mids and the lows covered. And then we'll put an LFO tool on this one. I don't feel like we need a compressor. I've already said that. LFO tool, super simple. If you load up the preset and go to sidechain 1, just to get my preset, all you do is move this little notch just down a little bit. And move this up a bit so it's kind of straight. And then that's pretty much it. That way you'll get no clicks, so you could just save that as your default. Or you could just literally copy this. I don't know where this came from really, but it makes very little difference. One thing I like to do with LFO tool is automate it. There's no particular number I'm going for. And again, this one goes all the way to the end, like that. It'd be nice to have them more uniform, but if we chopped them all here, it'd look better visually, but they'd stop really suddenly, so we're not going to do that. Right, so reverse cymbal. It's already cut one bar before, which is fantastic. Got a little bit of a fade in. For the region. Oh, that's an inspector. Region inspector. Been learning some new key commands lately. Yeah, it's no. Shift and R. So yeah, if you just want to look at your regions, so that's just got a fade in of 300. So nothing too crazy. We could maybe what's it? I always like to do one bar in, one bar out, or this one's 2 bars out. Kind of good. That's 4 bars out. So it looks like I like to do 4 bars thereabouts when permitted. In this case, the sound starts there, so we don't want to cut all that sound out. So just fading into a little 1 beat in a bar. It's like, sorry, this is a bar. This is a bar and there's 4 beats in it. That's the way mine. It's probably wrong. Now we don't need any delay because it's already got it built in. Now let's just line it up. Looks good to me. You could probably have it. That looks wrong to me. It literally is there, like bang on. So it looks like I've lined it up nicely. You can check for any overlap. Just use your scissors tool from there. Not worried about the mixing for now. Compression, not needed. Reason being, it doesn't drop in volume after it reaches the peak of this section. So you need EQ. Just follow the same process of taking out what we don't hear. Again, I don't think it makes a big difference, but over 100, 150 channels, maybe that energy would build up and muddy the low end. So it's better to be safe than sorry. Now, you've got to remember that this is a fast process for me. I'm just really taking my time and explaining everything. But, you know, remember that effects are a massive part of your track. So how I teach my students to do it is we do put in a track for the reference, like do the structure, and put everything in the breakdown, line it all up, build your first couple of layers, your bass, your pad, your leads, mix it all, get it sounding good, do the automation, and then it's time to do the effects. So you put in 2 crashes, 2 down sweeps, blah 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 blah, and then you follow this process. Once you've done it once, that's it. It's a couple hours work, maybe an hour work, depending on how fast you are. This one looks like we can get 2 bars going in. We can get 2 bars going out. Seems to have a bit of a nasty kind of sound at the top. So I'm just going to do a bit of subtractive EQ, which means taking away. If you wasn't aware, this is additive. Let's try and find that little nasty sound. We might have to remove this for. Just like this area. Better. Very rarely will you see me doing any subtractive or additive EQ, but in this case, it's needed. It's needed. We'll just quickly do a line up on them all to save a bit of time. Looks like we can go bar there. That one's too much. Again, this one's far too much. In saying that, you're pretty much buggered there because it starts right from the start. So, I mean, it was probably okay before. Again, some things, there's no rules. Just do what feels natural. This has got a big build up, and it makes sense to me to reach its peak where the other effects come in. So where the short reverse comes in, so you can see that line, the fade in builds up to there, and then the next one comes in. So that seems like logical. Next one. So this one, it stops dead right. So nice simple fix. Let's quickly do EQ. See, 400 too high for that one. We're cutting out all the mid juice, all the nice mids, which is sounding nice. So again, you've got to rely on your ears and see what works for your ears. Get an EQ. I like to use Logic's tape delay. It's a repeater EQ, which means it doesn't go left and right like a stereo EQ. It just repeats the sound. I just use the standard preset. I think I might change the feedback. So if you want to take a quick screenshot of that, I don't really mess about with anything else. I guess you could do a low cut as well. To be fair, it does make sense. Low cut, 130k, because that way we're matching. We're matching the EQ, so we'll save it as the new default. So you're always learning. And then we want to automate the tape delay. And I like to just do it for the last beat. I always say bar, but I think this is the bar. I'm not very good at music theory, but it goes to show you don't have to be good at music theory and know all the terminology as a producer. Now, you could argue that this would be great for a compressor because it starts off really quiet. Again, then again, you could argue that could have a compressor. I don't particularly tend to compress. And going off my logic of when something's quiet and gets loud, you probably would use a compressor, but I just never have. But look, this one's a lot louder, right? Much more linear, so I guess we can compress this one. But look, I didn't use compression for the first 50 tracks I did. Literally no compression at all. Because I just didn't understand it. And I'd put a compressor on and didn't know how it worked. The way I think of it now is, and this was after watching Giuseppe Ottaviani's masterclass, is that it kind of just blows the sounds up a little bit. I visualize like someone coming up to me and giving me a balloon and saying, "Oh, just blow this balloon up a little bit more." And if you imagine like a big red balloon and imagine blowing it up an extra 10-20%, that's essentially what compression. That's the end result. And it gets that end result by by squashing the sound and allowing you to then turn it up louder, more balanced. You can't turn it up louder before because the quietest parts will sound good, but the louder parts will sound too loud. So that's the whole point of compression, is you can turn things up more balanced. I mean, it's so subtle. It's so subtle. You do not need to use compressors to make great music, and I'm a testament. I'm not saying I'm great, but I've made some Napalm Poet was zero compression apart from the mastering, which I didn't do. So the proof is in the pudding. Just the EQ this one. Those 50 hertz do make a big difference. Taking it from 250 to 300, it does kills a lot of the low mids. Don't need a compressor because it's already really loud to start off with. Whereas this one's dead quiet, quiet, loud. This is like dead quiet, loud. You know what I mean? So, quick tape delay. Bar 20%. Rather, and I always just go down 2 bars later. The bar thing, 4 beats. So yeah. So I guess that is the last bar. It's the last beat of the last bar. So my terminology is okay. So I'm just getting rid of that nasty little peak. I had to find out where it was. It looked like it was the one at 4K, but it was the one at 2.5, 3K. I'm being very pedantic here. I don't particularly normally do this. I'm just really delving in and doing it as perfect as I can. But I'd be lying to you if I'm anything but a lazy producer. But I'd be lying to you if I told you that I've gone through every single reverse in my entire career and removed all the peaks and dodgy sounds, because generally I don't really particularly hear them. But again, it's something that I should be doing really. Why I don't know. I just don't really like using EQs. I prefer to find sounds that work. But in this case, look, it does have a bit of a nasty sound there, so I'm taking my time to get it right. It makes me laugh when you see these Fab Filter videos or screenshots and like this. Just like makes me laugh because it's just not. I mean, look, in some genres maybe you have to do that, but in trance you certainly don't. Less is 100% more. It's a bit of a laborious kind of task, this, unfortunately, but it's a massive part of the track and it needs to be done. Again. It does make quite a big difference, to be fair. 3 decibels, taking 3 decibels out, it does control that kind of nasty sound. I don't think we need compression because it builds up nicely, it's subtle. Now, sorry, I've not chopped it, so chop it to the nearest bar. That's perfect. Upright. This one. It there. Do that. Now the audio is fading out right at the last second, so I could do that, but I'm just going to do it for a full bar, okay? Reverb kick's dead simple. I'm going to leave that there. I don't know why I had it before. Remove what we don't need. Awesome. So everything is all good now, and now it's just a case of we'll do the volume after. So now, how do we line them up? So what I would generally do is I would look at my pads, and because they're all in bars of 8, nice and simple, I would generally do something like this. You know, something like that, and then on the down sweep I might. See, that's different to that. It's a different crash. Something along these lines, but I'm finding that nowadays less is more, and I've been doing it this way for so long, and there's nothing wrong with doing that way, but it does seem a bit overpowering. And yeah, I think producers, just labels, are looking for less is more nowadays, and I am finding a lot of tracks out there. Hello, a lot of tracks out there just keeping it more simple. So what we're going to do is use this reference track. We'll pull it down a moment. We don't actually need the effects playing. All we're going to do is solo this. I'm going to mute them. They're dead loud. And when you play 16 effects at once, it's quite a bit of bang. So there's no crash there. So along, it might be better actually. Sure, the best way. Have a nice simple beat there. I think putting them before and then just taking one is probably a sensible idea, because then they're not getting away. See, I would always have a kick there. He's just got a nice reverse reverb, so you'll need something there later on, but not in the effects section. Look how simple this is. like he has an effect or a crash. But again, we're not looking to particularly copy. We're just getting a rough idea. Very, 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 very simple. He has like a little reverse vocal, which we've not got in a minute. So I'll tell you what we'll do. We'll think on our feet and we'll just put these little reverb kick, these little reverses before. So we've got something for now. We might mute them later on. You don't thing to be noted as well is that he just uses the same reverb kick. Do we really need two reverb kicks? Like, what's the point? For the past 17 years or so, I've always just mixed up the effects, but I'm all about learning new ways and developing myself. And this is all very, very, very basic. But you know, what do I really need two reverb kicks in my quest to keep things simple nowadays? Simon Patterson's not arguably one of the best producers in the entire world. Why do I need to? You don't know. Sorry. Thank gosh. So simple. And again, look, this isn't gospel. It's just a rough idea. We'll listen to my track when we're done, after we've done the vocals, and we'll assess, do I want to do more? Maybe. We've got the bare bones. Does it sound good? If I'm like, oh, it feels like something's missing, that's my mind. Simon Patterson's made this track, and in his mind, he's put the effects where his mind feels they need to go. My mind is not the same. It's different, so we'll assess. I'm not gonna be like, oh, that sounds wrong, but I'm just gonna leave it. I'm using this as a baseline, a solid foundation, and then I can always work on it on top, and I think that's really important to remember. I'm definitely going to have the long reverse leading up. Will we use the other one? Maybe not, I'm not sure. We'll use this second as well. We've not used reverse yet. Short reverse. Reverse. We're not going to bother with a second kick. So we could just move these away, just kind of have them if we need to later on. So when it comes to leveling the kicks, a really neat little trick here. Just get his kick, and I'm going to pull it over and just put it across the entire track. And all I want to do is get my kick to peak at -8. We'll go to the track. You can reset the volume if you want. You don't have to reset the volume. If you don't reset the volume, then you need to account for the fact that the volume slide is down to -5. That's how I mix my tracks. I get my kick to peak at -8 and I have my master at -5, and it works really well. But if we're trying to get our kick to -8, you have to account for the fact that your master's down to -5. So you simply add -8 to -5, which is -13. I hope that makes sense. So I'll do it both ways. So I'm looking for the kick to peak at -8. So let's do it the first way. So these are show -8. It's a horrible kick. I hate the kick, but it's just a placeholder for now. And the output showing -8, fantastic. However, if you have your master at -5, we need to show -13. Now it does, because we know it's -8. But just a word of warning: if I'm telling you to get your kick to peak at -8, and you've got your master set up the same as mine, the stereo out, then just be aware of that. Okay. So all we're going to do now is just mix all the effects. Super simple. So. Turn it down, don't want to deafen ourselves. The reverb kicks will do after, because they can just be mixed to the other effects. We can't mix a reverb kick to a kick for obvious reasons. This is so simple. If you start all your effects about -10, it's a rough guide. If you are not sure about the level, but you think it's about right, so -13 is about right, just keep turning it up a decibel at a time before it becomes too loud. And then when it becomes too loud, just knock it back 1 decibel. See, I managed to get it a decibel louder without it sounding bad. That's 2 decibels. Say about there is perfect. So drop it down 1 decibel. So I think it was -13 before, I think. So I'll put it up to -11. So by using my little trick, I've got it as loud as I can. So again, nothing revolutionary there, just a nice simple little trick. So this is. Turn it up a bit more. See, that has a crash in it, so we have to be careful not to make it too loud. Maybe we could take away some of the crash. It's about 4 decibels. that allowed us to do was turn the downsweep up more without the crashes clashing and creating too much kind of noise in the crash section. I want to get a little bit more energy on this reverse, so what I'm going to do is automate. Sounds strange without a reverse cymbal. I'm just going to put a reverse cymbal in. There you go. Now we can delete this little pseudo kick. And we can mix our effects, our kicks. They want to be nice and loud. If you're noticing the Simon Patterson, they're super loud. Now we've got to be careful because the reference track is a completely different volume to our track, so bear that in mind. I think I chose a wrong reverb kick. I had another one in there. That one's a bit softer. Deleted the other one. Let's try this one. Back. What we're going to do is put these a different place. SSD. I can find a music now. But anyway, that's the kick I kind of wanted. You notice that I'm having to turn it up quite a lot and I'm running out of headroom, so a simple fix to use the limiter. Limiter works in the opposite way of a compressor, so you take the lower sounds and bring them up to higher sounds, which in turn allows you to have the sample or whatever you're limiting louder. Super simple, adaptive. Plus, and now we'll get a much louder volume, but we'll not be going into the red. Honestly, never happened before ever. Why is it doing that? So odd. genuinely never seen that before. That's fascinating. Real world shit doesn't always work out. We managed to get a decibel louder with a little bit of compression. So you saw me do a little bit of mixing there because, like I said, we use the kick trick as a rough guide, but then you have to adjust slightly. Cool, so I think that's pretty much it. So it's a really comprehensive way how to do your effects. The only thing I didn't do was put all the effects in. If you would like to email me, I will happily send you over this pack, which I put together of my own effects. Client example effects. So I basically got one of each. This needs. So you got your short reverse, your reverse cymbal, your reverb kick, long reverse, down sweep, and crash. So these are all from my own samples, which are from my sample pack. So if you would like a starting set of samples, feel free to drop me tutorials at adamellisdj.com. Yeah, let's listen to the full breakdown now. Now, it's not mixed or anything like that, so don't worry about it too much. There might be a couple of discrepancies, but in general, it'll be good. So there you go. So that is how I do my effects in 2024. I like to use a reference track as a rough kind of bass line. And yeah, I think that's pretty much it. When I say a rough bass line, I mean like a rough foundation. So it can be very confusing if I'm banging on about bass lines and things like that. So yeah, really good work. For any questions, sorry, I lost my train of thought there. For any questions about my lessons or anything like that, drop me a line. If you've got any questions about this tutorial, if you want a template, if you want the effects, etc., drop me a line. Tutorials@adamellisdj.com.